At the end of part 1, we were met with an untimely dilemma. Mikumo's laptop would call it quits for the day, which would point directly towards his Tryon reserves. It would appear that the amount of power needed to keep the facility on is a lot more than we could have expected, and so we immediately dive into navigating past this issue. Welcome to part 2 of the away mission exam review, and if you enjoy this content, then make sure to support the video however you see fit. Quick thinking in motion, Mikumo decides to utilize the comms device as a means to retain the assignments. By taking pictures of everything using another person's laptop, he would be able to complete the assignments physically and resubmit digitally. All things considered, an efficient workaround that even Madoka follows suit with. While Suwa Squad resumes, we pull into the top brass's convo regarding the results of the special assignment. We're digging in here quite thoroughly per team's response, but with Kido at the helm of this, it's all valuable thought processes and mindsets involved. To start off, Inukai, Yuba, Kodera, Suwa, Nanomiya, Arafune, and Kurauchi are pointed out as those who brought up the idea of future captains and management roles. In turn, this allotted them some extra points from a few of the A ranks. Hana and Oji were also allotted a good amount of points for their take on this test being an environment for controlled data collection. Looking at the long-term prospects, it's better to start while everyone is in their prime. We do get to see the exact thought process for Hana as well, with her wording as the shuffling simulates the advancement for B ranks. We get a visual of a system called New Game Plus, which basically is going through the same thing again, but when you have much stronger gear or overall better expertise, stating that this is going to force everyone to use the experience that they have all gained to produce a brand new batch of results as if they were in C rank again, working towards creating a new environment for the long term such as B rank teams, in turn giving the brass new ways to evaluate B rank agents and what it means to hold that title. Though speculative, Hana ended up nailing the big idea at a clean 70%, which is quite huge considering it leaned more towards baseless conjecture. This putting her in line of sight to be future management potentially, and this does make me wonder just how much planning in mind does Ashihara have for the end of the series. On top of that, where will our characters be when all is said and done? Our neighbors also get some praise for their response as well. Though a bit more brutally honest, the shuffling can also serve as a means of preparation for in the event somebody perishes on the away mission. Given they are war veterans, we can't overlook that, as I'm fully bracing for something to go wrong, and more than anything, you cannot overlook the possibility. Mikumo also got some good points for his quick thinking, and overall, round 1 of top brass evaluations seemed to be pretty positive. It's very cool to get this type of deep thought from the top brass, as we have not had a lot of screen time with them since the negotiations and the rumor incident. However, the reality is that in comparison to everyone else, Suwa Squad's start is the weakest as they kick off day 1 in last place among the rankings. It would appear that wherever Mikumo goes, the way of the underdog affects everyone around him, as Suwa's toughest climb yet is about to begin, pulling us into chapter 211 with Katori at her absolute limit. Prime coping and seething in the works, but surprisingly, she does keep it together. Instead, the team moves forward, telling Mikumo to crank it up a notch so that they can make their way back to the top. Shifting gears over to Utagawa Squad, they are also near the bottom as well, as Kuga and Tomoe had Shiki come in clutch a bit too much for the team's own good. Utagawa immediately shifts gears looking ahead, asking Kuga to come to him for questions to give more leeway for Shiki. We also see that Utagawa is one of the A ranks that does not have knowledge about Kuga being a neighbor either, given the raised abroad deal seems to be a loose end for many. Wakamura Squad is also reeling from the results in a similar boat, given Hiyus is also struggling with the language barrier, which in hand slowed down Maori, though he's not fazed by it given how on the nose he is about logical results, and knowing Hiyus, he is also looking ahead in order to conquer the road in front of him with maximum efficiency. To gain back some ground, he proposes to split up the remaining universal assignments into 4 equal sections based on subject, and then split the work up among the rest of the team, since that would eliminate the reading barrier issue altogether. It does raise some eyebrows, given passing notes around after to polish up those answers would come off as cheating, but Hiyus thinks quite differently. He would argue that the real point of all these questions is adaptation and the ability to solve issues that come up on the fly in real time as soon as possible, for that is what tends to be valuable in a real mission. Leaving leaving Wakamura to make the call, but we then shift over to Nanomiya's squad preparing to get dinner started. Chika of course bringing an ungodly amount of rice on board, but as a fried rice fan myself, I wish I was on the ship. Very Orihime core. Kakizaki and Kodera's squad also joined in with cooking dinner, however Kodera takes it upon himself to give Suwa a quick call. Every bit of info during this test is valuable, and Kodera seems to have his own thoughts going on regarding the results, asking Suwa if management sent the personal scores for the squad as well, in which Suwa replied they did. Kodera is seeking out the amount of points people got for the A rank evaluations. Suwa does tease him a little bit, but overall gives it out, with Suwa receiving 22 points and everyone else got around 15 minus Katori. As a bit of friendly advice, Suwa does tell Kodera to speak his mind, so that way people will know how to react to him going forward. He also reaches out to Kuruma as well, but this time we get to see why he's out for this info in the first place. The A rank evaluations are primarily based on what they can observe, meaning that while Kodera's squad kept the discussion short, they overall cut down on the potential good points that could have landed. Notably, people like Hitora got snuffed. It doesn't stop here either, as with such a small amount of points overall given, it should be impossible for them to have such a major effect, unless the real amount given was calculated using a specific formula or multiplier. Now when it comes to the rule of multiplicative, a small amount could turn into a ginormous amount in a heartbeat, which is why it's important for teams to not underestimate the comebacks possible. For all my Warframe nerds out there, we know how it is with the mod system. The team overall settles on just being more mindful about the A rank's presence and dive on into eating. Same goes for OG squad, and surprisingly, Ikuma is a heck of a chef. Even some A ranks were shocked given Ikuma is, well, Ikuma. Though it would end up being Hyuse that would be the most exaggerative one this chapter, as in order to hide his horns, he would make up this origin of being Canadian as a means to sleep by himself, stating that Canadians cannot sleep in the company of others. I'm really curious now as to what Ashihara thinks of Canadians, but this excuse ends up working? I can't tell if Wakamura and crew are just that gullible or if Hyuse is just that good at what he does, but even so, crisis averted. As the day comes to a close, we leave off with Suwa and Mikumo heading to sleep in the dual bedroom, but Suwa has some words to say before lights out. Chapter 213 has Suwa bringing up the battle simulation. As more details begin rolling out, we see that we're getting 10 matches total a day against other teams. On top of that, the units everyone will be using is based off everyone's own stats, meaning that Mikumo is in a position that could be burdening. This is more in line with the fact that a game cannot replicate the same level of strategy that was the rank wars. Things like response time and reactivity are in the hands of computer reliability, meaning that Mikumo is going to have to shift gears once more, as Suwa is not necessarily counting him out, but more so accounting for him in the event of losses. He continues on with saying that Katori is overall a volatile but integral piece of the puzzle. Her temper is an aspect that must be taken into consideration, and so all things considered, bringing the best results is what matters most. Great moment here from Suwa, given we didn't know how much of a thoughtful captain he was till now outside of battle, and I am really a fan of Ashihara giving him some major spotlight in this arc. It overall gives me hope for whatever team-ups that may come down the line as well, but first we enter day 2 as teams begin warming up for the battle sims. As the data comes out, the rules and technicalities begin to present themselves as well. Firstly, each unit stats and triggers are reflective of loadouts from the previous rank war season. For each match, 2 units' trigger loadouts can be reassigned, and any unit can be controlled by any squad member. Very strategical approach here, given pre-made loadouts each with pros and cons, with the point system being laid out as well. Depending on the day, wins, and draws, you earn a different amount of points. Each day gives you more points, which increases up until the final day to reward better play and again contribute to that upset. Now from this point on, we're really starting to zone in on the gaming mindset as teams begin to understand their plan of action. Action tokens, Tryon, attack power, defense, evasion, backup, and technique are the categories we're working with, and as they are reflective, we can see Mikumo is on the lower end of the chart. The tutorial for the Sims explains that both squads will have 150 seconds to decide on inputs for all the units. The input phase and the action phase equals 1 turn, with the match ending in 6 turns. units. Depending on the unit remaining difference, whichever squad has 2 or more than the other is the winner, whereas if the difference is less than 2, then the match is a draw. Domination is key. Additionally, each unit has action tokens which provide how many actions they can take per turn. Each movement on a cell on the map takes 1 token, with attacking and defending taking a varied amount. The faster the agent, the more they have, and all units have a radar that represent field of vision coinciding with the effective range of the unit's main and sub-triggers. Stepping into that range will trigger an automatic attack, and even then, it's also necessary to balance out blocking. Since the units are controlled, there needs to be genuine tactical approach if you want to block an attack or aim a certain way, which prompts the user to adjust the units as well. Down to snipers, Ashihara really, and I mean really, made sure not to skip a beat when it comes to balancing. It's funny knowing how many have said that World Trigger feels like it could be a video game, let alone an esports, and now we're really seeing that validation in real time. Despite all this technicality, this is where Mikumo thrives the most, and as we see him feeling the flow of all of this, chapter 215 is also taking time for squads to get acquainted. The neighbors getting a hold of their playing styles, Nanomiya letting his team take their own reins. It's getting really competitive. There's also backup units that seem to be a pool of A-rank agents clearly trying to give players their tide turners as well. I really enjoy just how thorough this section of the story feels. You can genuinely feel the discussion Ashihara and his editors had radiate off the page, and this right here is what World Trigger is all about. Every loss you deserve, every victory you will earn, and by the end of all of it, the only thing that will matter is the reality of your strengths, your strategies, and your weaknesses. It's worth noting that this section of the test is pretty much testing adaptation at its peak. Giving Hayuse a little bit of credit, we must be ready for anything, everything, and even the unforeseen. Matchup number 1 is putting us against first place Mizukami squad, who we finally get to see again after omitting the information about this portion of the exam a few chapters back. I can imagine with such a move employed, he's got a few tricks up his sleeve as well. Chapter 216 is putting us directly in the front seat. While Madoka keeps an eye on the map radar, the rest of the team makes way with their units in the field, setting up at tactical points such as Oki and sniper range, while Mikumo sets up wire traps and leaves Katori and Suwa to push in. There is some exchange of fire as the team encounters both a sniper and Teruya's unit, but overall, no casualties so far. The crux of Suwa Squad's strategy revolves around the Katori and Tachikawa unit, trying to get the most they can without burning an action token. However, the enemy does pull back, which forces Suwa Squad to push in. Yet, if there is one thing everyone must always understand, is when to pick and apply pressure, especially when not knowing how weak your enemy is. It's basic PvP tactics, though for Suwa Squad, it ends up evading them entirely, as the minute they push too deep into enemy territory, they got absolutely decimated. From every angle and advantage point you can think of, one by one their units are destroyed, as round 1 goes to an overwhelming victory to Mizukami squad. To make it even more humiliating, Mizukami would be solo operating his entire team of units, making this a 1v5. Some faker level gameplay if I've ever seen it, bringing chapter 216 to a close, this time on a team-wide defeat, and thus leaving us off here for this review. Some key takeaways is that the top brass has a lot of late game ideas in mind. There is an end game in mind for these characters looking at this evaluation, and I feel that rather than waiting for the final arc to arrive, we are already getting the groundwork for the future of these agents now way ahead of schedule. As I continue to say, Ashihara is super thorough with his planning, and I honestly can't wait to see who may end up leading Border down the line. As far as these battle simulations go, expect a lot of adjustment over these next couple of chapters regarding strategy, especially when Mikumo's moment has yet to come. Keep in mind of the A-Rank's multiplicative formula for points on top of the increasing amount of points you can earn per day from the Sims. There are going to be some major upsets by the time this is all said and done, but for the time being, Mizukami has the throne in hand and he is not letting it go so easily. With that, ladies and gentlemen, will bring me to the end of this review. As always, thank you very much for watching, and make sure to leave all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Next up, the completion of volume 25. Till then, be well out there and Till we meet again in the next video.